I don't know if he's ready yet. Hi, how y'all doing today? Got the whole staff ready? Mayor Davis is coming shortly. Hello, Mayor Davis is coming shortly. His guest.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, you've been here a couple of times before already.
Right.
All right. Yeah, he always runs a little late. Yeah.
That's fine.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, he'll be here shortly. So I'll get myself together. Getting ready. The professional look. Do I look more studious? I look more professional. Hello, this is Johnny Bunton Jr., WVOX, where we give you the greatest hits. We keep coming back with more and more hits. Hello. We keep coming back with more and more hits. For your listening pleasure, I am your DJ today. But this is a talk show, so there will not be no music playing for you unless it's going to the commercials. Now, let me microphone check. Oops. Turn up my mic. Hello. Headphones is working. The mic isn't on yet. But the headphones are on. So I can turn it down a little something. And I see I haven't been on YouTube too much lately. I see how they have it for guests. So that's great. So I will definitely be doing some more YouTube streaming and having some guests because it makes it easier this way. So that's great. Now my 25 ways to make 25K would be easier for me to do because I can have guests come in and we can make it hot and other content that I would like to create and be able to do with guests. So thank you, YouTube, for making things a little bit easier for me to provide some content and thought-provoking content, because I can get on every day and provide a bunch of junk. Like we could sit here and talk about people, gossip, current events. We could do all that stuff. And there's nothing wrong with the current events. Gossip. People like gossip. Depends on what you're doing, you know. Some people like to hear the backbiting gossip. Some people like to just hear celebrity gossip. Some people just like to hear people talk about people. Whatever floats your boat. But I like to participate in things that I feel that I can contribute and give something enlightening. Now, have I participated in stuff that was gossip? Yep, I did. Have I participated in stuff that was current events? Yep, I did. My preference is to be able to talk about stuff that helps people as far as being able to motivate them, being able to enlighten them, being able to push them. Because at the end of the day, when all is said and done, I want my daughter to be able to view some of my videos. Some of my videos she can't view. But I see a convertible pulled up. So that's probably the mayor. I would like her to be able to view it. I mean, she could view the other ones too, but some of them has profanity in it. But at the end of the day, I'd like her to be able to view it and be like, yeah, that's my daddy. He did this. I want her to be proud of me regardless. And it's easier for her to be proud of me if I do things that help people, enlighten people, motivate people. I mean, she could still be proud of me if I was sitting here doing a bunch of gossip. If I made a lot of money doing it, then you're like, oh yeah, my father, he talks about everybody, but he makes millions doing it. All right, well then, hey, yeah. But talk about everybody making nothing. Hey, he's on his way. He just pulled up. Here he is, the man of the hour.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good, and you?
Everything good?
Yeah.
How was your weekend?
A little bit tiring. I was ripping and running around, but that's how it goes, man.
Yeah, well, that means you were doing something.
Yeah, my father's in the hospital, so I had to come down here and go see him in the Bronx.
Hey, people.
It's like that person calls you on clockwork. So you just WVOX, 1460 AM. Here we are. $14.60. Thank you, sir. WVOX. Conversations with Ernie Davis.
Good morning. It is a great morning, and it looks like it's going to be pretty warm today out there. And I guess we'll be complaining about it's too hot.
Yeah.
Well, we have a very good friend of mine, a guest.
What's up, bro?
And for the new people, just introduce yourself.
My name is Johnny Bunting Jr., former car wash owner here in Mount Vernon. I got rid of it, but I'm still doing my thing.
Okay. We have been talking to Johnny about his past. For those who did not follow it last week, Johnny is one to be emulated. It's part of his life. Johnny did 25 years in jail, and he was entered the system about he was about 17 years old, and he was an honor student from the Bronx. He lost his mother, and that, of course, that contributed to the things he later got into, and of course, in the Black community, to a large extent, is drugs. And drugs is one way to make quick money and enter quickly into the system and quickly into the graveyard. But that's what's going on now. There's a lot of things that contribute to that. And I won't get into that. That's a whole different conversation right now. But it is not how you start, is how you finish. And Johnny started good. And then things happened, and that affected him. That in his young mind, was the right thing to do or the quick thing to do. What did you think you're going to get out of that? You thought you were going to, you had seen all of very few drug dealers, illegal drug dealers, keep the money. And so, what did you think? You weren't thinking that. Obviously, you weren't thinking that far.
Exactly. There wasn't no plan, like a end game. And that's what I speak about to people now. When you're doing stuff, you have an end game in mind. What do you plan to get out of this? And when I speak to people, I talk about legal stuff, but it's still the same situation, end game. When I seen guys getting money, driving BMWs, Benzes, Mercedes, other luxury cars or other cars in general, when I was walking, I looked at it like, well, I want to be able to do that. I didn't look at it as what's going to happen in 5 years from now. Where will he be? Where will I be? I didn't look at it like that. I just looked at it like, well, in 6 months, I could have this. Or in 30 days, I could have this. I wasn't looking into the future.
So you wanted to be recognized. You wanted to get the girls. You wanted all the stuff that rich people uh, do, but they don't just do that. They do it in a legal manner. A lot of the rich people got rich through illegal means, connections, and etc. But if you, the ordinary guy that the police are looking for anyway, to make a reputation off you and all that sort of stuff. I mean, you support. And when I say you, I mean the attitude of you support a whole system, jails, and then jails serve meals and they make things and people, you create jobs, especially upstate. They depend on locking you up, and that's what's going on. A lot of people, they know X number of people are going to, get locked up. Most of them going to be black and brown because they're doing things that people can see. I mean, people
Right.
can see it. It's not hidden. And why do you think so many black and brown men, especially, get locked up, go to jail?
Well, similar to what you said, there's a trend. There's a trend. If you want to get money, you have to do A, B, C, or D. For instance, you want to get legal money. I played basketball. I played football. Was I good enough to be in the NBA or NFL? No. That was just for fun. To make money, what am I good enough? I could fight. I might have been good enough to get into boxing, but boxing wasn't prevalent in the neighborhood until Tyson. And Tyson was in my era, but I wasn't thinking about going to no gym, hitting no bag. But besides that, what could you do? We live in a society in a day and age where instant gratification. So what could I do to make money now? And that's what is prevalent. So people get caught up in the how can I make some money by the end of the day? Like you even have guys that are legally day laborers. They want to make some money by 5 o'clock today. I want some money in my pocket. What can I do? Now, when you think about the whole ecosystem of it, as a 16-year-old, 15-year-old, you don't know nothing about that. Nothing about what you do today, how it affects you tomorrow, how it
Yeah,
affects the
but
system in
wait a
general.
minute, wait a minute. That is true to a large extent, but I grew up in the South, Charlotte, North Carolina, and my mother, especially my mother, my dad had a good job. He worked for Southern Railway. He was a baggage handler. My mother was a domestic. And I said, Mom, why you work for these white people? She says, I don't have no education. I could, I can't make but so much money. But so she ran the White household, and whatever they ate, we ate. And she drove a Roadmaster Buick. I still remember that was the big one, and because she was servicing their needs, the woman wanted to play golf. She had a few babies, but that wasn't her ticket. Her ticket was to go play golf and get tan, and so she had to leave the kids with somebody um, they trusted. My mother even put corporal punishment on those white kids.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I mean, she was, and she told me, um, I got a job when I was in high school, 15 years old, and my mama said, "You're gonna have to give me some money." What? Give you some money? You know? She said, "I don't need your money, but you have to grow up and be a man. I hate men who live off women." And I said, "Uh-huh." And so that was planted in my mind. I was going to go to the army. She said, "Oh no, you ain't going to the army. I was going to graduate. I was just 16." And she said, "I'm not signing you to go to no army. You going to college." "Ma, I don't want to go. My friends and you going to college." And I knew what I had to do. But we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after the break. You see, my mama, obviously, is a very smart woman. She didn't have um, structured education that you think. But she would say, "I have more money than no school teacher." And when my mother died, she left me $250,000. But so what I'm saying is that foundation is missing in too many cases, and plus PR, and it's more difficult than that. Plus schooling and all of that.
But you know what? The era that you came from, Black people were at a. I'm not saying a physical distress. Sometimes it was, but the game wasn't up like it came later on, like in his era. By the 70s, they figured out how to disenfranchise us, some more, because during your coming up, you had the marches, you had civil rights, you had all that. By the 70s, you know, they started closing that gap back again. They started closing that. Now by the 80s, the civil rights whole thing is dead. All right. By the 80s, they introduced crack in our neighborhood. We didn't bring crack into our neighborhood. You know, I still believe that was a government plan. Because if you had Oliver North meeting with Manuel Noriega to buy cocaine to bring into America, okay, and they called it was the Ronald Reagan era. They called it guns. It was drugs for guns.
Okay, we are back. How did we get in this mess? Well, let me put my 2 cents in. My mother and father, I was actually born on a farm that my granddaddy owned, and my grandmother, of course. And I didn't realize I was watching my granddaddy. I was watching my grandma. And so when I came to Charlotte at 4, I had already seen success. I didn't look at it as success. He'd take me to grind the wheat, the corn, and all that with his mule. So I saw a structure, but Most of the black people weren't like that.
Right.
And so I can't say he was, he had a whole cadre. He was a Mason. I got pictures of him holding his book and all that. But even when I grew up, yeah, I talk about the success of my parents, and there were many, but there were a whole lot that was not like that, and a whole lot of them died premature. I would like to say prematurely. So, but the thought process was that you are going to go to school.
Yeah, that was the thought process.
That was a thought process. Now the thought process, I hope you don't get killed out there in these streets. But I take Mount Vernon. I don't know how many casualties we've had, but there are too many, I can tell you that. So what happened? I guess a lot of everybody's hands is dirty. You had the legal system. You had Dr. Spock. When I came out, Dr. Spock said, you can't hit these kids, blah, 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 blah. And he lived to retract that. But and so the kids started taking on a whole new thing. The social worker was more important than the teacher.
Right.
The social
That
worker
power.
could come to your house, send the police to your house because they heard that you hit your child.
Right.
But that started in the 80s. That was
No, that started earlier than that.
Well, they had more powers, in the 80s. Actually, Lisa Steinberg. It was the Lisa Steinberg case in 77, 78. Joel Steinberger killed this little girl. He's a prominent lawyer in New York, right? So they put this bill up. Lisa Steinberg. They gave social services these sweeping powers. Like if you holler at your kid, they can pull that kid out the house. Really?
Well, there's some more to that story.
Well, I mean,
there are influential people in this world, in this country, that we look up to, and they go to the legislators. The legislators pass laws, transferring the power from the parent to the system.
Right.
But that adversely affected black families.
Exactly.
That tore black families up, and then with the crack.
Well, it tore our society up. Of course, I don't know, but
it was more like steps. It was more like steps. There's certain things that happened that took more of a step in the transference of power away from the family to the system.
Right, to the system.
Right.
Yeah. And the system, of course, we now know, we didn't think about the system like that before. And that's when we had the young folks rising up and police start shooting white people. And they always shot black people, but they start shooting young white. So there's a lot of influence that caused us to be where we are.
That's rare. That's rare that they do. Like, okay, if you have an active shooter, the cops will bend over backwards, especially if it's a white person. And most of them usually shoot themselves after they've done a deed like that. Okay, most of them just shoot themselves. They're not gonna let the cops shoot them. They'll kill themselves before they let the cops shoot them, or they get arrested.
Well, anyway, we strayed away a little bit. So Johnny, you did your 25. You're supposed to do 20. You acted up, and they gave you a little extra.
Yeah.
And you came out. Were you afraid of? You hadn't been in this in society that long. You were only 17 when you were taken out of society.
Right.
And now, so you come out with all that in your background. what were you determined to do when they unlocked the gates?
Well, I did not want to be a burden on my family.
Uh-huh.
I had thought of a bunch of ideas, and I was like, well, I may not be able to implement all of them, but I'm going to make something happen. I believe in the law of attraction. When you think about stuff and you put that positive energy out in the air, you can attract that to you. So I wanted,
Did you have this conversation with any other prisoners?
of course.
Okay, we're gonna take a quick break because I want to know the answer to that one. And we'll be right back after the break.
Did you follow? Because you said the laws of attraction.
Mhm.
That's the secret.
Exactly. That's what I was getting ready to speak about.
Okay, all right.
That's very next thing I was going to speak about, because
Yeah.
once I read that, and I spoke with brothers about it. And here's the deal: you can tell someone, just how they say you could lead a horse to water.
Right.
You can tell someone, listen, if you go there, there's opportunity right there. And some people still won't go. They be like, yo, nah. But the funny thing is, you can have great intentions and people won't follow you, but then you have someone who have bad intentions, and people attract to them like magnets. Like, like, okay, we're gonna go get a Kia Coke, and we're gonna. They're like, all right, let's go. Let's go.
That's funny.
But it's the truth.
It is the truth.
Oh, I see. Good.
You know,
In terms of who you talk to, I mean, it looks like to me that you only have a small group that you talk to, seems to me.
I spoke to a lot of guys in my cell. You know, when you're in the cells, you talk to the guys like right in the cells with you. And when I do come out, then you talk to guys, your own little guys that you deal with. I didn't deal with a whole bunch of people. So when I some of the programs I went to was like think tanks. So we'll come in here, we'll build about things, whether it be law, because I was good at law, or sometimes politics or things of that nature. But I was working on bettering myself, and I can't do it just grabbing a bunch of rap magazines. I have to look at things that's going to help me to elevate myself and my mind, because I was an honor student, but I just think like that. I can't just have my brain filled with garbage. I have to have something that challenges me, and that's why I would gravitate towards guys who had stuff to talk about that was challenging. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Now, how many of those guys did you have around you?
It wasn't many. Like
No,
the
I
guys
know
that I
it
would
wasn't.
walk around the yard with, like two or three guys. But when I go to the group meeting, these are not guys that I walk the yard with. These are guys, when I come to the group, we talk and whatever, and then I'm going. I'm going back this way. But still, we come together for that common purpose, talk, build, and that's my food for thought right there. But some of us, we was nowhere near each other as far as cell blocks or what have you,
Right.
to be able to walk around together. So at these, they call it call outs. At these call outs, you get to express ideas, and I'll bounce some of those ideas off the guys in my cell block, or the couple of guys that I actually do walk the yard or lift weights with.
Um, when you were in jail for all that time, first of all, did the time go fast?
Hell no.
Huh?
No,
No.
no. You had moments, remember, it's 25 years, so that did not go fast.
we're back.
Okay. Okay, we'll continue our conversation. I find it fascinating myself to see. I was talking to somebody, and they said, "How can we believe you? You ain't never been to jail." I said, that's precisely my point. You know,
Right.
I got to go to jail before you can understand common sense.
But there's a
Uh,
lot of information that can be shared and brought by people that's in there. Like I ran into a book called The Secret. And when I read that book, it expressed to me about the law of attraction and being able to make your thoughts a reality, so to speak. And there's other things, the comedic sciences, there's a lot of things that I've read. And I'm not saying that these things are be all end all for everyone, but it helped me. It helped me to change the way I think and to change the way I act. So you can have something that isn't even true, but the effect of it on you may be a positive thought. For instance, we all know that Santa Claus is not real. But if you tell a child, listen, you have to be good, or Santa Claus will not give you something, and that
oh
child be
yeah, I
good,
believe
yeah,
that.
even though that's not true, you end up with the child being good because of the belief of that. So I'm not saying that every single thing that I ran across was accurate, but those are little bits and pieces that help to contribute to how I build myself back up and was able to come out with that positive frame of mind. But I do believe
What I
that you can
do,
attract things with the way you think.
but as we were talking, you were an honest student, so you had the seeds of intelligence, and already you fell prey to, I guess, to the attitude people in your generation, a few people in your generation,
Right.
like wanting to see. I mean, when I was in high school, I dressed. I didn't dress like flashy bow ties because my mother geared the way I was gonna dress until I said, when I get grown, I ain't gonna let no woman tell me what to wear. But I thank God for her. She had me wearing bow ties and saddle locks with shoes and all that. She said, you ain't gonna, she said, I don't, she had a strange way of looking at herself. She said, you will not get a suit until you get 16. I don't want you to run around here looking like a little man before your time.
Okay.
This is your time to be a child. And I'm going to see to it. And I said, I ain't gonna let no woman dress me, you know. But looking back on it, that was a pretty one. I have been so lucky to. It's two things was in. First of all, she meant what she said, and corporal punishment. She invented it. You know, you know. She, I was in. I never forget. I was in third grade, and she had to come to the school, and she said, "I ain't coming back up here no more." And so she talked to the teacher, said, this is my child. I love him. Do not hit him in his face, but anything below the belt, you take care of it. And then you call me. He will not be your problem, you know. And she told me in front of the teacher and me. So I had nowhere to run.
Right.
And the teacher knew that she could control me. And I was a little mannish little boy. I run around and you know, but I cleaned up my act when she said, "Okay, you do this. This is what's going to happen to you."
Right.
But you see the difference in the time.
Yeah.
Because he came up in the 80s when crack was booming, and everybody was making all the young guys was that got into it was really trying to make money, but their families were in disarray because because mom might be smoking crack or pops might be smoking crack. You know, it really devastated the black community. It really devastated it.
Well, I'm gonna tell you a little story too about my mama. I said, "Mama, how did you meet Daddy?" And she told me. He said, "I know I'm the best thing he got." And she said, and she's a good-looking woman, you know. But she said, "But when we got married, I laid down the law. you will not come home drunk. You will not spend your money on the weekend and all that. And I said, she said, you're the man in the house, and we're going to split these bills. I'm going to pay this. She's going to buy the furniture. You're going to do this and that. And he's going to, I mean, she was controlling everything. And so I listened to them, and she said, this boy will not see his father coming home drunk. Because that was kind of typical. The black male would make the money and then give it to the woman because he know he was going to mess it up. Mama said, no. You're going to do this. I'm going to do this. And she was in control all her life. She was in control. At least it seemed like she was. But she said, one thing is you will not do. He will not see. Unknown caller. He will not see his dad coming home drunk. You said, if you do, I will kill you. Wow. And she had a gun in the So one day Daddy came home and they propped him against the door and ran. And Mama said, I told you not to do this. Now I'm gonna have to kill you. She went to the drawer and got her gun. I still remember that. I was a little boy. And Daddy picked me up and put it on his knees. He said, He said, well, you can't hold him forever. And Daddy never ever came home drunk again. So I'm saying, I saw all of this. I didn't understand all of it, but my daddy understood all of it. And she was a trip. But sometimes you have to let people know what's what.
Right.
And so if you don't, there are consequences that you have to deal with. And so when I looked at your background, I think the intelligence was there, the maturity wasn't there.
Right.
And then so you got, and plus your mother died and all that, and that contributed to it. And I think that kicked in, right? You had a lot of time to think about what you're going to do.
Yeah, a whole lot of time.
And I'm sure you said, I ain't coming back this way again. And so when you left, though, you didn't want to be a burden on anybody else. So what did you do?
Well, I knew I wanted to help kids. I knew I wanted to be a part of some kid's life in that particular phase where the streets are pulling at him or her, and be able to direct them. I didn't know how, but I knew that that's what I wanted to do. And then I have a friend, he did time too, but he was my friend before then. And he introduced me to Nesta Felix, a new flex. And so she helped me by allowing me to participate in a program. And I mentor students, I coach students. I was even chauffeur. Like we go to events, basketball games, or other week camping trips and stuff like that. Now I'm helping them. I'm being a mentor to them, and I'm being an example because I told some of them, like I have the boys in a group, and I'll explain to them my background because a lot of their age range, they were in that critical range of when the people would be like, well, listen, this is how you make some quick money. And I let them know, listen, you can get those things, you can. By doing them illegal things, you can. But then you got this waiting for you. You can take a job at McDonald's and stuff, and you can still get you some extra clothes and things of that nature.
My mic is on.
No.
It is?
No.
No.
So that's what I was doing. I was talking to the kids. They respected me because I'll make them run. I'll make them do push-ups. I had like that militant approach to it. And a lot of them need discipline because they lack it at home. So I was providing that little bit of structure that they needed to be able to help them because I didn't have that. You know what I'm saying? So it comes to the point where you need someone that's going to put that discipline, that's going to put that structure, that's going to earn that respect with the child so that they can think, well, listen, if I do this, I'm going to disappoint him. And I don't want to disappoint him.
Mhm.
I didn't have anybody that I was looking at, if I do this, I'm going to disappoint you. I didn't have that. So I just did whatever.
Okay, we have time for another break, and we'll take this break, and we will return right after the break.
And you still doing it too? You still doing that now?
No. I do it at times. That's not what I do now.
Right.
Like I moved, so I come periodically. Sometimes you call me and say, listen, I need some help with this, and I'll come show up. But I used to do that daily. That
Right.
used to be, all right, boom, I have a schedule. All right, on Monday I'm gonna be at this school. On Tuesday I'm gonna be at this school.
Wow.
I don't have that now.
Yeah.
I've even done speaking engagements. Through them I connected with, they did a speaking tour
Mhm.
in Mount Vernon. It was a bunch of us. And I was a keynote speaker for a few schools.
Mhm.
And that put me on the radar with some of the people
Right.
at the school. So they called me back. It's like, okay, well, listen, I did that for free.
Wow.
And then when they called me back, you got to pay me.
Right. Okay.
So they called me back. I got connected. I did something dealing with solitary confinement because I did a whole bunch of time in solitary confinement. I got there's a old school rapper that did some time for killing somebody, and I got introduced to him, and he plugged me into a organization that was fighting against solitary confinement.
Mm.
I went to Albany, I spoke, and then someone seen me speak, and he was like, "Listen, don't ever talk for free again." And he connected me, and I spoke at colleges. I got paid.
Because
To
speaking
speak.
engagements are pretty
They can be lucrative.
Yeah.
They can be lucrative.
Yeah.
And they pay for my transportation and
Yeah.
hotel
Hotel.
stay and all this. And I was like, well, I like this because I don't mind talking about myself.
Right.
I don't mind telling people about the pitfalls.
Right.
I'm not ashamed of it. I was at a mock cell, a solitary confinement mock cell,
Mhm.
and people would come in and look, and they had a speaker system connected so you hear noise.
Mhm.
I know what that noise represents, but they didn't. So I was telling people, listen, imagine you being in this cell and the noises
Okay,
of
we're
other
back.
people around you. I had people leaving the cell like in tears.
Yeah.
Okay, we're back
Wow.
for our final session. We're up to now. Johnny is out. He's been thinking about ways to make a contribution and not return to the place he was been for 25 years. And so now, going forward, he's the first thing he's doing is not going back to people who failed in their quest in their life. So I'm just anticipating that you did not hang out with the boys who you met in jail.
No. What I did was once I connected with Nesta and Newflex, I was doing that for free. So I still had to make money.
Mhm.
So I went to school. I got into college. I'm good at law. So I took paralegal because I figured it's gonna be my way of showing my family that all that time I did wasn't for nothing.
Right.
I graduated with an associate's degree, magna cum laude. I had I can't remember the actual grade point average, but it was pretty high. I got my own little equipment and started doing yard work. I was cheap labor. I'm not even gonna sit here and lie. I was cheap labor. That was my way of putting myself in a position to get some clients and to make some money. There was
How many clients did you have?
I think my max was like 15 clients, but that was good
Now,
enough.
somebody had to work for you, right?
Right. I got to the point where I hired somebody, but at first I was doing most of the work myself. Then I hired a guy from the neighborhood. Us two would go, and I had some of the most basic tools in the world. And I'm talking about doing hedge trimmers like this.
No.
It's like it would take a long time to do stuff, but I had to make the money in order to buy better supplies. And
So where did you store this equipment?
well, I was living in Mount Vernon, and in the basement there's a back section by the boilers and stuff.
Yeah.
So I put the stuff back there.
Okay.
It got to the point where I looked at it like, listen, in order for me to make more money, I have to be able to do more yards in a timely fashion, because it takes me a long time to do some hedges like this.
Uh-huh.
So I'm like, well, I got to take some of this money that I make and invest in some equipment, because the quicker I get the yard done, the quicker I can go on to the next, so on and so forth. So I basically took my money that I had made and bought some equipment, which basically tapped me out, but it allowed me to make more money faster, because now I can do more of these yards. I had got plugged in. There was a site called Home Advisor.
Yeah.
I put myself on that, and I was able to get clients. And like I said, I was cheap. So by being able to get into that, and my cheap rates was allowing me to get clients. And I actually was cheap for two reasons. One, because I was new. Two, because I wasn't even good. So what I actually learned on the job, learned how to become better.
So why did you pick that?
Because I didn't need no certificates. I didn't need no licenses.
Entry.
Right. And it was a low point of entry as far as money. So it was something I could get into. And then as I got better, I got more equipment, I got more skilled. Guess what? Prices went up. And the clients didn't mind paying, because they seen my transition. It's like, listen, he messed my hedges up at the beginning. Like,
But look at him now.
right. But when they tell me I messed up, I would come back. I would do it until they're satisfied. And they loved that about me.
Right, right.
And it was like, okay, well, I had one client that he had multiple houses. And then he like, well, Johnny, I need to get this house cleaned out because I'm going for another. Okay, I'll do it. Johnny, I'll do it. Johnny, I need to do this. I'll do it. Like
Johnny on the spot.
Right. So it's like everything he wanted done, I'll tell him I'll do it. And he was cheap. He was cheap. But I was the guy for him, because I would actually look up how much the average person gets paid to do it. And I would intentionally stay below that, because I'm like, well, listen, if I get to that point, if I go with the market, then he's going to find somebody in the market that's better than me. I might as well be below market, because I was below quality. And as my quality increased, then my money increased to go with the market.
Right.
So how long did you stay in that business?
I'm still in that business. That's one of my business. I still do that. But what I did change was, because I was doing snow removal as well.
Mm.
And 2 years ago was really an eye opener. It had snowed a lot during that year, and I had guys. I had the car wash. I had guys that I would use from the car wash and do some landscaping and do this. They was like, I want to make some extra money. Had a snowstorm. Nobody answered their phone. I had 13 yards I had to do. I did them all by myself in a snowstorm. And I did it. I had came from Virginia, and it was a snowstorm. I came from Virginia. I didn't even live in Mount Vernon anymore. I came from Virginia, stopped in Mount Vernon. My wife and my daughter drove around with me for a couple of hours, and they got the noise ordinance. So you can't use a snowblower at 1 a.m. So I have to shovel. I shoveled this. I was out there until noon the next day doing all the yards. And I was like, I'm not doing this next year because I got guys who claim they want to do it. And then when it comes time, that's too much. But these are my clients. So at the end of the day, I have to do it. But I had actually hired somebody while I was in Virginia. I hired somebody, found somebody and said, I need you to do this, 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 this. His rate was high, but I didn't care because I wasn't even in town.
Right.
So I was like, all right, I'm gonna pay you. He did 3 yards and stopped. He didn't even contact me to get paid because he knew he didn't finish the job.
You know, as you were talking, I'm thinking that's the big thing is missing in the Black community is what you said. And this is the lure of fast money takes people right where you were. They don't want to sweat.
No, they don't.
And so I think we might have an opportunity to start to speak in the classroom, because look at what you're talking about. We're talking about attitude. We're talking about willing to work. We're talking about providing service. So a lot of things is tied up in it. And you can transfer the attitude into business, whatever you decide to do. And that's what Black folks used to do.
I have a saying. It's one of my mottos that I tell people: do what you can until you can do what you want.
Mm-hmm.
I was able.
Okay. Let me take this call right quick. Good morning. Yeah. Who is this? Hey, John. How you doing, John?
Exactly. Yes, my car wash was there on Lincoln Avenue. Exactly, right next to Johnny's Pizzeria and the Gulf gas station. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah, there's a whole lot of things that I do. I mean, I have guys doing it, but the whole point is, I I provide opportunity to people. Yeah, it is because everybody wants to make money, but nobody wants to work. When unemployment kicked in and guys were making more money sitting at home than they were making at actually working, they got used to it.
Okay. His attitude. Why do you think the attitude towards no work, little work, and a lot of money? Why do you think that is happening? Well, how can we? How can we change that? Uh-huh.
Hey, John, a couple of years ago, I was working for DPW in Yonkers, and they had a guy, I forgot his name. He was in charge of cleaning the. I mean, this guy was tough, and he got a bunch of us out there, and we was cleaning up like the sides of the highway. I mean, and it was a bunch of young cats.
Well, they can hire me and have me put together a team to clean up the side of the highways, and I'll do that, and it'll be clean.
Yeah, I mean, I love doing that. It was, you know,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I appreciate your comments, but we gotta go. Thanks for all that you do to encourage us. So Johnny, I'm gonna give you a break, but I want to get I want to get back. We'll be in touch
Right.
because I can see how we're gonna mesh this stuff together. Okay, reluctantly, we gotta go. And thank you, Johnny, for being with us in 3 consecutive
Thank
weeks. And we'll take it further. Okay, this does it for us. And we'll see you next week. Same time, same place. God bless.
You know,
No, I think we're talking about Speakers Bureau.
Right.
Because a lot of people, I tell people, the people who put you in this shit ain't gonna take you out of it. You know, you're gonna have to get it out by yourself.
Right.
And I think that motivation. Look at what the Mexicans they build up. You can't find black people doing the arts now. I had the last one, and he died, and his son took over. I don't know what happened.
well, see now,
mean-
my grandfather had
You guys,
my grandfather had a lawn company, and growing up as a kid,
okay.